Hey guys, how's it going? Josh here from Thorny Jams. Back with another new Tuning Tuesday. And today I wanted to dig into the David Crosby or Croz tuning. He called it EBDGAD. And basically it's the tuning that David Crosby used in a ton of his music. He played in open tunings a lot, and a lot of his music kind of has that special sound with the acoustic guitar. But this was one of his favorites. He used it a lot in Crosby, Stills, and Nash, and I believe specifically on the song Gwen. He used this tuning. And I've always loved his music, but I thought that it must be, mostly him that made his music so great. But the tunings did help. This one in particular is gorgeous, and so much that you do on it just sounds good and interesting, and it inspires a lot of new ideas. Let's get into it. As I mentioned, it is the way that you get into this tuning is by starting at the E string, E, B, D, G, A, D, and part of why this tuning is so easy to use and so inspiring, I think, is because it's just basically thirds, not all stacked on top of each other, but if you rearrange them, it's basically a chord. It could either be a G major with a 9 and a 6, or it could be an E minor 7 with a 4th in there. So either way, kind of a suspended jazzy chord, but definitely a chord nonetheless. And that's part of why you can get such great stuff out of the tuning. So that's what it sounds like. Right off the bat, just to kind of get oriented, a lot of what we know in standard tuning, a lot of the chord shapes are the same in this tuning. But in particular, starting with E, you still have that E in the bass. You're still going to have that E chord that you can make using this shape here. But it starts to get interesting when you play the open strings. So if you add in these strings, you also get a 6th and a 7th added onto your E major chord. And then if you put your middle finger where it normally goes, you get a 9. So I love 9 chords, as I've mentioned in other videos, and it's great to be able to just easily make a 9 chord anywhere on the neck using a shape that we're all very familiar with. Another thing that I found just from a few minutes of playing around with this tuning is that you can get a triad, a major triad, by just barring the 5th string down, the 3 strings below the starting from the 5th string. So you get a triad very easily like that, and then you can easily make it a minor triad by making that E shape. And then my favorite thing to do with any new tuning is just, find a chord shape that sounds good, sounds interesting, and literally just move up and down the neck to see where I can get some interesting open string voicing. So it's a good one. Yeah, so those are some shapes to kind of start with and start playing around in this tuning. Another one that he used a ton is this sort of F shape that we're all familiar with here. If you play it on starting from the 5th fret, and then play that open A string, which is now a B string, on top of that, it makes a B minor 7 chord. But the way it's sort of stacked, all the notes are kind of clustered together in a really beautiful and interesting way, almost like creating like a suspended sound, because you have that 4th over the A. It just creates such a beautiful texture. And then you have another one of those if you move up to the 10th fret and instead play the E in the bass. So yeah, those are kind of the main shapes I just found from a few minutes of playing around with this tuning, and loved. And then I started kind of playing around with the song Gwen just to get a little bit more inspiration. So how was that? So that's the song starting out on basically that E we talked about with the 6th and the 7th. So it just creates this really strange, floating, kind of mystical sound, but it's just an E chord. And then he moves up to that B minor 7 that we talked about. Down to a G. F sharp minor. I think that's an A. So yeah, I mean, as you can see, I'm able to play these really rich harmonic chords using minimal fingering. At most, typically 3 fingers are in play at once, if not 2. And then that lick he's playing is basically just open strings with single notes being played. So I think that's why he loved open tuning so much. Is A, they're just easier to play with, but B, you're able to get these interesting chord voicings that you just can't get in standard without some crazy, exhausting fingering, and then they don't even sound as good in standard. So I think be able to play some of these sort of rich jazz chords in much more beautiful voicings, because when you have notes further apart, typically they just sound more harmonic and more in tune, almost like playing them on the piano. Which we're not able to do as often on the guitar. So being able to do that with some of these open string, open voicings is, I think, why those of us who love these tunings keep playing around with them. So, again, as I said, I didn't think this tuning was going to be particularly amazing, just because I figured it was mostly just David Crosby's talent. But having played around with it, I can say I will definitely be using this. I'm definitely going to write something with it. So I encourage you to do the same, and let me know how it goes. Let me know what you make, and if you're able to sort of create something with it. But in the meantime, thanks for watching, and we'll see you next time.